JF Stretford Paddocks, that's David Scott. Manchester United losing for the second time in a week, 1-0, this time down at West Ham, after a David De Gea howler, but even after that, we had plenty of time to get back in the game, and we never really looked like doing it. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. It is beginning to get very touchy in the top 4 race. We're sort of opening the door, aren't we, Scotty, for
we didn't need to do
people
this,
to catch us up if we're not careful, if we keep dropping points.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was going to be a difficult game, just for many reasons. I think the form just seems to be just falling to pieces since the Carabao Cup final. But West Ham away, they've not won a game in 3, so it should, been having more shots on target. The De Gea mistake happened, 20 minutes in?
Yeah, something like that.
20 minutes in, so it was like 70 minutes to try and get back in the game, and there was absolutely nothing. I think we hit the post twice through Rashford and Antony, but they were freak occurrences in a game where we just seemed to get more and more lost as time went on, and West Ham they gathered more confidence and had 2 goals disallowed. I've seen the Lindelof thing again, and I think that we were lucky not to get a penalty against us for that, to be honest. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be a massively worrying time now for the next sort of 4 games, and we've got the FA Cup final against Man City coming up, because whether it's fatigue, whether it's performance, something that's happening behind closed doors, but there's a lot of question marks over a lot of players. We've got a week off now, that might be something, but everything will come down to De Gea's mistake today, and it shouldn't do.
Okay, right? Yeah, I get that.
Because he made an error, but football games are won and lost through performances all over the pitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's been matches where De Gea's pulled off a worlder, and then we've got and saved matches. But our strikers were as accountable for not doing anything up front. And you can talk about where we didn't invest in January with Wout Weghorst. With him playing or relying on Martial. We wasted 70 minutes of a match where we were 1-0 down against West Ham. And then it got to injury time, and then all of a sudden they went, "Oh shit, we've got a game of football here. Maybe we should have a go at it." Why were they not doing that for the 70 minutes beforehand? There's just a lot of question marks, and it seems Brighton, Seville, now today against West Ham. Games are coming thick and fast towards the end of the season, and we don't seem to be turning the corner. I think Ten Hag said in his press conference, didn't he wants a reaction. If that's a reaction that he's asking, what's that? What was that reaction? More of the same?
You're right. Here's a stat for you. In our last 6 games, we've scored 3 goals. And 2 of them came against Spurs. I mean, that tells its own story, doesn't it? We got over the line against Brighton, obviously in the FA Cup. We won on penalties. Got hammered off Sevilla, like you mentioned, 3-0. Villa 1-0 at home. I ain't got a problem with winning 1-0. Back-to-back defeats, back-to-back goalless games. I mean, you're right. You've mentioned De Gea, and we will get into it. And everyone can get in the chats and the comments what everyone's got to say. And rightly, De Gea will get a lot of attention, but that shouldn't detract from the point you were making during the watch along of going forward. We just look lost.
Yeah.
I mean, you asking me the question, do you blame the manager? And I said the manager's got to take responsibility, but then also, I don't think we've been backed. He was back properly with a January signing, and also there's players who just lost a bit of form. But how worrying is it for you that a team that, even when we struggled with being able to get goals, now just don't look like scoring to me? I mean, I know you said we hit the post a few times, but what those were sort of
the half chances.
Yeah,
it's massively worrying. But part of me is thinking that we were getting ahead of ourselves because how many points we were accumulating earlier on in the season, and we were talking about this during the watch along. Is we were consistently picking up wins, but were the performances that good, to actually get the 3 points? Which in hindsight, we're having moments to actually, to get the 3 points, but I'm not too sure how great they were. And because we were over reliant on the likes of Marcus Rashford, and because he isn't playing the same as he was before the injury, chickens will come home to roost. This is exactly what happens, because we weren't backed in January, but there are players in that team, Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes. If Rashford isn't scoring, them 3 players have goals in them.
Yeah.
Right? And you can say, why is nobody else picking up the mantle when you've got like players like Fernandes having a bad game? Okay, well, I want Casemiro or Eriksen to step in. Rashford's having a bad game. Okay, well, I'd like Martial to step in. We don't have cover at all. Rashford and Fernandes are our match winners. If them two aren't scoring or playing well, then we don't seem to have them anywhere else across the pitch. And quite frankly, looking at that performance, the game against Seville and Brighton, I am getting worried that the top four could slip, because I don't think there's anything in there that we could get confidence moving into the next match.
No, I agree. I'm sort of. I said I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I didn't think we'll lose today, and I got pelters for it on the preview. But I just said I think we'll lose this one, and I think we'll win the last 4 games. But doesn't mean we will. I'm not Nostradamus. We might not. Like, we're giving ourselves a lot to do.
There's no evidence that
it's just how I felt going into this game. It's just what I thought would happen. But I'm not, I've been wrong more times than right. So there's every chance we can throw this away. And if we throw this away and let Liverpool get top 4, I think that's unforgivable. I'll go through some of the super chats. Adam Twanley, if I have to watch Adam Wan-Bissaka get in a good position, then pass it backward, my head is going to fall off. Fergal McClement says, Are you worried about Casemiro and Eriksen's recent performances? Dropping off a cliff recently, in my opinion. Neil Edwards says we are exactly the same under Ole. Facts. Casemiro and Eriksen, are you worried? Hit the like button as well, please, people.
For Casemiro, yeah, because he wasn't. He didn't come back from an injury. It was like a suspension, so you'd think that his fitness should just pick right back up where we left off.
Yeah.
The likes of Eriksen, when Eriksen came in. Was it the Brighton game where Eriksen came back from injury, or it was a game beforehand, and a lot of people were saying that he might not be back to full fitness. So he doesn't look like the player he was before Andy Carroll went rattling into him. Marcus Rashford's not the same. Casemiro's a worry though, because it was a suspension.
Yeah, you're right. That's a really good point. That wasn't an injury,
strange,
was it?
Isn't it?
Yeah, because players get knocks and it affects them physically.
Yeah.
It seems to be something's got in his head. I don't know. Just not the same player as he was before those suspensions. And that is a worry, because we'd become so reliant on him. You remember when we went to the Arsenal game when he was suspended? It's like that was like we lost that game before we kicked off.
Yeah.
Because Casemiro was suspended. What we're going to do? And now with him on the pitch, we're still getting beat.
You wouldn't even know that Casemiro was playing today.
No. And I hate saying this, but you're right. I mean, he's been one of my favourite players this season, but the last few games just not good enough at all. We've got, I don't care if you're Casemiro or if you're Scott McTominay or whoever you have, you don't play well enough, we'll call it out, and he needs to step up, because he's got a player who has the ability far beyond what we're seeing in a minute.
How important do you think it is that we've been praising or giving credit to Shaw and Lindelof as a pairing, makeshift pairing that have come in to fill in for Martinez and Varane? Do you think that that's having a knock-on effect in the centre midfield? Because you were making the case that today we got overrun in midfield. The same happened in Brighton as well. Is that having an effect? And that's not a negative towards towards Shaw or Lindelof. I'm just saying because that they played as such a tight unit together.
I think it has to. The Martinez injury is just massively affected. He's so important to us. He's been such a big player for us. And he carries the ball so well. And I know Shaw can carry the ball, but the point is, Shaw isn't as good as Martinez at centre-back, and Malacia or Dalot isn't as good as Shaw at left-back. So you've got two positions there that have taken a drop-off. Now, the drop-off from Shaw to Malacia at left-back is quite big, in my opinion, or Dalot. The drop-off from from Martinez to Shaw at centre-back isn't massive, but there is a drop-off. Martinez, for me, is one of the best centre-backs in the league. Luke Shaw's done well there. I don't think he's at his level. So it has that sort of knock-on effect in the team. And then as well, Martinez is so confident. And we see it a lot. We're playing out from the back where De Gea will play a ball into Martinez. It's actually a bad ball. Yeah. But Martinez deals with it.
That's a good point. Martinez doesn't get the credit, I think, for his distribution on the ball. Yeah. And also the way that he's very cavalier and will get stuck in, and that itself sort of breeds confidence within the rest of the players. When you see someone like Short King behind you flying through somebody, then you're like, right, well, we're in this fight together. And it does seem that we're sort of lacking that bite across the 11.
No, we are massively, and that is it is a word. You talk about that bite, that sort of spirit, and I hate. When we lose, I hate using words like passion and leadership and effort and energy, because it's a bit of a tapping in it in terms of analysis. You know what I mean? We don't.
It's just pulling it out of the box, actually.
But it's true. In certain, you point out during the game, I think, I can't remember, it might have been Antonio or someone was sort of chasing a ball and got there first. I mean, that is a bit more desire there. That is a little bit more of that, because Mikel Antonio, he's a relatively quick lad, but he's not that fast. You know, there's other players on the pitch who... Declan Rice kept winning everything. He kept intercepting passes. It was like, yes, he's a good player, but there's a hunger there that was lacking. And when we conceded that goal, and that's what you made it point earlier, 27 minutes in, the one saving grace is you've got an hour to put it right. And we didn't. And we were playing towards the end of that first half like we were 1-0.
Yeah.
Passing it around the back and just no one taking any responsibility. And we saw that half out and shooting from 30 yards out. And, you know, listen, I know you can score a goal from 30 yards out, but let's have it right. You hardly ever do that. It's half the time it's because you give up looking for other options. So you think, I'll just stick my foot through it. And it's just basically giving away possession because it just gives them a goal kick. So that isn't good enough. People need to take more responsibility. Shooting from 30 yards isn't taking responsibility.
It wasn't one shot either, though, was it? There was a couple in there.
It's just pinging shots from distance. It's just giving up, in my opinion, to be honest with you. Not enough players saying, like, give me the ball, let's work this, let's work an opening. You were talking about, you know, could I see any coherence in the attack? Half the time, not. And then it was the last sort of 10 minutes where the real urgency kicks in, where you go, right, we're running out of time here. That's how you should be from the moment. If not from the moment you start a game, because you understand it away from home, you might want to be a little bit composed. But certainly when you go behind, you need to get back into it. You need to quiet the crowd down. You need to sort of knock the opposition's confidence, because as the game goes on, the opposition who were winning get more confident. And you could see they did. They were taking more risks when they were on the ball, feeling like, you know, we can have it here. And they had, was it 2 goals disallowed as well? On other days, though, you know, one of them was offside with VAR. That foul on De Gea
could have gone either way.
He could have got away with that, Antonio, because his arm's up, but it's not a clear.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to be too harsh on De Gea, because obviously already got enough people giving him pelters for what he did, but it just sort of buys into that whole thing of he just looks shaky, even despite the fact you know it is a foul. But Burnside is back, says, remember when we were 700 plus career goals in the side? We're allowed to talk about that. Cristiano Ronaldo is obviously referencing there. I think Cristiano Ronaldo sacked himself from Manchester United.
It's a pointless conversation.
Yeah, there's no way you could keep him after that interview, and no one made him do that. Andy Knight said, if you said at the start of the season we needed to win 3 of the last 5 to get in the Champions League, we would have taken it. Come on, United. I would have, but the issue with that is it's the way we're going about it. That's what's probably going to get everyone sort of touchy. Massive game now against Wolves at Old Trafford. Can't afford to do anything other than win that one, because I think if you go into the last 3 needing 3 wins, then it's gonna be horrendous. Good vibes, John Shin in the chat says, I missed today's game. What the hell happened? John, do yourself a favour. Forget about it. Yeah, just log off. Have a digital detox until the Wolves game. Hopefully, he says. Ant L says, if we win 2 and draw 2, and the Scousers win all 3 of theirs, we are out of top 4, and I can easily see that happening. We've got to win 3. I said I think Liverpool will win the last 3 games. They're on a run, so I don't see any other way. Redman07 says, love you guys and Erik ten Hag, but he has been escaping criticism. He's due for too long. It's been woeful, and a lot of it is on him. Ole would have been crucified for some of this. Why is he let off? I don't know. I think Erik ten Hag is getting criticised a lot from what I've seen anyway. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's getting more stick now?
I think so. I think you lose one game, then you can sort of put it down to the players. But if your players got fatigue, then you work around it. If the performances are dropping, then you work around it. That's your job as a manager. You were talking before about United went down 1-0 in the 27th minute. There was no reaction within the rest of the first half. Very laissez-faire.
Yeah.
They go in at half time. You're the manager.
Yeah.
They're supposed to come out and give a reaction. You want to kick, like you were saying, we were saying before the match started, that you imagine behind closed doors that Ten Hag will rip him a new one when he's upset with him. That 11 that came out didn't look like a team that had any sort of impetus to go out and try and win the game initially. In fact, if anything, they were allowing West Ham to come more onto him. And frankly, it's inexcusable that if this is supposedly down to fatigue, why they could all of a sudden, it's last 10 minutes before the pub closes, we better get a pint in. Do you know, that was a sort of, it was ridiculous.
No, it was. Fergal McLennan says, if the past few games happened under Ole, people would be saying he has no tactics. I'm finding hard to see a plan at the minute under Erik ten Hag. Norv says, hopefully Varane comes back for Wolves, so Shaw can play in his natural position. Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Malacia aren't helping the team going forward. That's a big shout, that. It's been a huge loss. We mentioned Martinez, but Varane as well is having a very, very good season, and he's another one who, he just brings that sort of surety at the back. Mom Chill Mitchev says, Jay, I can't take it, man, in capitals. Listen, bro, I said before the game, we'll lose today, we'll win the last 4. I've not changed my opinion, right? We'll be all right. Don't worry about it, yeah? I still believe in Erik ten Hag. I still think he's the right guy. I think he's the one to get us out of this mini mess.
Do you think there's a narrative that he's been doing better than he should have done with the players that he's got? I know he spent big on certain players in the summer. If you look at Anthony, the amount of money, but yeah, it's still a player coming, new player coming in.
I think some of the reason I sort of question. You're right, he did spend money. I'm not saying he didn't. But a lot of it was we spent money on a team that needed spending on, because not only did we were shocking last season, Pogba starts for us, whether you liked him or not, and he left. So you got to sort of replace him. Yeah. Nemanja Matic was an option for you. Cavani was an option for you. Then you lose Ronnie. So you're losing players where, whether you like these players or not, are in and around the first team. So you had to replace some of them. Then also you've got the fact that McTominay last season was dreadful. Fred, I thought, actually did all right, although he got a bit of a knock towards the end of the season, so you're missing him. So we had to get some strength in numbers in midfield.
Yeah.
So it's like he's buying players that he had to buy. Now, I'm not saying he had to go out and buy those specific players, but the positions, I should say, he had to fill. So I feel like his transfers, it was like he was sort of filling a gap almost that needed filling, and he got them pretty much right. His transfers, I think every signing's been a positive one. I think he's getting a song out of all the players that he needed to. I will say this though, if we don't finish in the top 4 from where we've been now, that's a failure for me.
On him?
Yeah, he's failed, because had we struggled this season and you think, okay, it's going to take a little while, and then we'd sort of picked up the pace and we were to finish 5th.
Yeah.
You go, all right, that can happen. Mikel Arteta did that at Arsenal. I'm not saying he's the benchmark for success, but you understand it. But with Ten Hag, to be comfortably in the top 4 for pretty much the last 6 months and then blow it in the last 8 games, that's... New owners are going to look at that and go, I'm buying a club for however many billion and we're not in the Champions League. And I hate to say it, fans might be patient with him, but new owners who've spent a lot of money might not be. That's a lot of ifs and buts, but I'm going to leave it there. Scotty, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at @argh kid, and
go on.
I have a book out, Mancunians. If you're a United fan, there's loads in there about the glory days when we won the treble, and when the Glazers got in. Jay Motti provides some commentary. Stiauson's in it as well. Lots of drug tales. My mum thinks it's the best book ever, and she's only read 2. So if you pick that up, it's available at all good bookshops.
Scotty, despite the result, always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah,
we'll be back tomorrow for Scotty and Motti. Make sure you check that out if you've not done so already. I'll put a little link. We do a load of videos. We've also got a Patreon, so I'm just going to stick a link to that in the chat as well. So go and check that out. Pradav Kandawali says, I trust Scotty's mum. There you go. There's a good way to end. I trust Scotty's mum. Do I trust these players to get us out of this mess?
My dad doesn't.
Right, there we go. Right, okay. Well, before we get into something we don't want to go into, thanks, Scotty, as always. No. It's been a pleasure. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat. It's been a really good discussion. I'll be back in the morning with the news. Later on, I'm going to have Andy Tate's reaction and Stephen Alson. This has been The Review. Manchester United, leaving ourselves it all to do. Thanks for watching.